Welcome to Threads of Truth, the podcast where real-life mysteries meet internet speculation. Today, we follow the trail of a young girl who walked into the storm alone. What led Asha Degree to vanish that night, and what's still missing after 24 years? Just try to picture this for a second. You wake up, it's still dark out, really early morning. The house is quiet. Maybe you're still a bit fuzzy because the power was out earlier that night. You go check on your daughter. She's 9 years old, just a quick peek like parents do. And her bed is empty. But it's not just empty. There's no sign anyone broke in, no window smashed, nothing looks forced, no sign of a struggle. She's just gone.
Yeah.
And her backpack, the one she takes to school, that's gone too. But it wasn't empty. It was packed. Carefully packed with clothes, a Dr. Seuss book she loved, even some candy, and the door she must have used. It's locked from the outside. Then a few hours later, the frantic search is underway and you start hearing things. Reports from drivers, people who were out on the highway in the dead of night. They saw a little girl, definitely matching her description, walking all alone.
On this dark highway, pitch black, middle of a terrible storm, pouring rain, strong winds. So you have this empty bed, a packed bag, a child out there alone in the storm. And this awful growing mystery that honestly has just gotten deeper and more confusing over the last, 24 years now. This case, it's more than just a missing person file. It's a real enigma. Why would Asha Degree, everyone says, she was shy, well-adjusted, from this loving, tight-knit family, why would she leave her warm bed, her safe home, and walk out into weather like that? Was she running away? Maybe from something we just don't know about, some kid-level pressure or just an impulse. And this is, much more disturbing, was she lured out? Did someone convince her to meet them, someone she trusted, or someone who would plan this whole thing? Who could possibly talk a 9-year-old girl into walking out into that kind of night, middle of nowhere? These are the questions, aren't they? The ones that have just tormented investigators, her poor family, and frankly, a whole online community of people trying to figure this out for decades. So in this deep dive, we're going to try and pull out all those threads.
Look at the facts we know, the timeline, which is just bizarre, and all the different theories people have come up with.
It really is one of those cases, isn't it? It just sticks with you. Not just because it's a child disappearing, which is heartbreaking in itself, but because of all the questions around her actions that night. The paradox, you mentioned this careful packing, almost like she's preparing for something, but then she runs off into the woods when someone tries to help. It's that contradiction that makes it so difficult to pin down.
Exactly. It forces you to consider completely opposite possibilities at the same time.
Yeah, and that makes finding a clear path forward incredibly tough for investigators and just agonizing for her family still waiting for answers.
It's such a chilling scenario.
Yeah.
And to really understand it, we need to set the scene properly. We're in Shelby, North Carolina. The date is February 14th, 2000.
Yeah.
Valentine's Day, usually a day about love, connection. But for the Degree family, it became the date everything changed.
And right at the heart of it is Asha Degree. She was born August 5th, 1990, so 9 years old at the time. And by all accounts, she was, a sweet kid. Quiet, maybe a bit introverted, definitely shy. A good student, seemed conscientious. Her family was very close, religious, went to church together regularly. Asha shared a bedroom with her older brother, O'Brien. So you get this picture of a pretty normal, loving home, which just makes what happened next even harder to understand. There weren't any obvious red flags, nothing to suggest a child like Asha would just leave, especially not like that, into a storm. It just doesn't fit the profile, of a kid running away impulsively.
Right. It really doesn't. Which brings us to the timeline of that night, because the specific sequence of events is, it's incredibly strange and adds so many layers to the mystery. So Sunday, February 13th, 2000. Normal day. Asha and O'Brien went to church with the family, standard routine. They were put to bed around 8 p.m. Now, here's a small detail, maybe important, maybe not, but it adds to the atmosphere. Around 8:30 p.m. that Sunday night, there was a car crash nearby, and it knocked out the power in their neighborhood. The lights didn't actually come back on until about 12:30 a.m., so early Monday morning, Valentine's Day. That means the Degree house and the whole area was dark for, 4 hours?
Right. And that darkness, it could be significant. It might have provided cover for someone outside, maybe, or just made it easier for Asha to move around inside the house without anyone noticing, or maybe just added to a general feeling of disruption that night.
Yeah, it's one of those details you just don't know what to make of. But we do know she was definitely in the house during that time.
Yes, that's confirmed.
Okay, so fast forward a bit. It's now 2:30 a.m. on Monday, February 14th. Asha's dad, Harold Degree, he does a final check on the kids, like lots of parents do. He sees both Asha and O'Brien sound asleep in their beds. This is absolutely crucial. It confirms she was home, she was safe, just hours before she vanished. Then, maybe shortly after that 2:30 a.m. check, her brother O'Brien, who shared the room, he remembers hearing Asha's bed squeak. Now, at the time, he just thought she was rolling over in her sleep, normal kid sounds. But looking back, well, it suggests Asha was actually getting up, moving around, maybe getting ready, not just suddenly snatched away. It points towards her doing something deliberately, even if quietly. And this is where it gets really strange, the sheer meticulousness of it. Sometime between that 2:30 a.m. check and 6:30 a.m. when her mom found the empty bed, Asha packed her backpack. We know exactly what was in it. Clothes, a Dr. Seuss book, McElligot's Pool. And this is a really key part, a New Kids on the Block concert t-shirt. Her family looked at it later and said, point blank, that is not Asha's shirt. They didn't recognize it at all.
Think about that. A shy 9-year-old girl packing a bag in the middle of the night and putting in an item of clothing that wasn't hers. Doesn't sound like a kid running away on a whim, does it?
No, not at all. It suggests planning. Maybe she was told to pack certain things. Was that t-shirt like a signal? Or maybe a gift from whoever she was planning to meet? It's so unsettling.
That t-shirt is a huge question mark. It immediately makes you wonder about outside influence. It's not something you'd expect a child to grab randomly. And then adding to this sense of planned action, she leaves the house and locks the door behind her. Again, no forced entry, no broken glass, nothing to suggest someone broke in and took her. It really makes it seem like she left on her own, or at least it was prearranged, maybe with someone who knew how to lock the door or had a key even.
And the weather that night, we have to keep stressing this. It wasn't just a bit of rain. It was pouring. Heavy rain, strong winds. Visibility would have been terrible, cold. Just a miserable, nasty night. Why would any child, let alone a shy 9-year-old, choose to walk out into that?
Absolutely. The conditions were extreme. It makes a spontaneous, aimless departure seem almost impossible, which leads us straight into those crucial sightings by motorists just a little while later.
Right, what did they see?
Well, between about 3:30 a.m. and 4:15 a.m., multiple drivers reported seeing a small girl. Her description matched Asha perfectly. She was walking alone on Highway 18 there in Shelby, generally heading south. One witness, Jeff Rupe, actually said he saw her north of her home first, which is interesting. Maybe she started off in one direction and then turned around, or maybe she was just disoriented in the dark in the storm. But the most significant sighting, the one everyone focuses on, came from a truck driver named Roy Blanton Sr. He saw her walking south on Highway 18, maybe about a mile from her house, right in the thick of that heavy rain. And he thought, this isn't right. A little girl out here alone. So he decided to turn his big rig around. A really decent thing to do. He wanted to check on her. And this is the moment, the critical moment. As Blanton started to approach her in his truck, Asha apparently looked up, saw him, and then immediately ran off the road, dashed into a dark, wooded area nearby near some kind of old shed or maybe a small business building there. And that was the last time anyone is confirmed to have seen Asha Degree.
Oh, it's just agonizing to think about that moment. Knowing what happened, or rather what didn't happen next.
Yeah.
Why did she run? Was she just scared? I mean, a huge truck turning around, pulling up near you in the dark. Maybe her shyness kicked in. Or was she running to someone? Was someone waiting for her in those woods? Was that the plan?
Or the other possibility.
Yeah. Was she running from someone else? Someone we don't know about? Maybe someone who was already there or someone she saw coming? It's maddening. And the fact that the search dogs later didn't pick up a strong scent trail in those woods, it just adds another layer of confusion. Did she just cut through there quickly? Was she picked up almost immediately? We just don't know. That moment is where so much speculation hinges.
It really is. And the response when she was discovered missing was immediate and huge.
All right, how did that unfold? So 6:30 a.m. Monday morning. Asha's mom, at Asha Degree, goes into the bedroom to wake the kids up for school, and she sees Asha's bed is empty. Can you even imagine that feeling? That cold dread washing over you. She frantically searches the house, wakes up her husband, Harold. They start calling family, desperately trying to figure out where she could be. It's every parent's absolute worst nightmare unfolding in real time. And just a few minutes later, at 6:39 a.m., Harold Degree makes that phone call, the 911 call, reporting his 9-year-old daughter missing.
And the search started almost immediately. Law enforcement, hundreds of volunteers, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children got involved right away. They searched a huge area, like a 2 to 3 mile radius around the Degree home. They combed through the woods where she was last seen, fields, roadsides, but nothing. Absolutely nothing. It was as if she'd just vanished. The lack of any immediate clues, any trace at all, was just baffling from the very start.
No footprints, no dropped items, nothing.
Nothing significant reported in those initial searches, no, which made it even harder to know which direction to even focus on.
So the immediate search turns up nothing. And then silence. For how long?
For a long time, frustratingly long. But then 18 months later, a year and a half, on August 2nd, 2001, there was a break. Asha's backpack was found.
Okay, where? Near where she was last seen.
No, that's the strange thing. It was found by a construction worker along Highway 18, but in Burke County. That's about 20 miles, maybe a bit more, north of her home. Remember, she was last seen walking south, so completely the opposite direction and a significant distance away.
20 miles north. How was it found? Just lying there.
Not just lying there. This is another really weird detail. It was found buried, and it had been double bagged in black plastic trash bag.
Double bagged and buried.
Yeah.
20 miles away.
Exactly. That immediately screams that someone else put it there, right? Someone trying to hide it, conceal it. And the location, so far north, it feels like misdirection. Inside were the same items, the Dr. Seuss book, McKelligott's pool, and that New Kids on the Block t-shirt that the family still insisted wasn't hers.
So who buried it? Why there? Was it just to throw investigators off the trail? It sounds so calculated. Definitely points toward an adult being involved in the concealment, at the very least. Someone who knew what they were doing.
Precisely. It suggested forensic awareness, and it deepened the mystery rather than solving anything immediately. But it did give investigators something physical to work with again.
And did they find anything else from the backpack itself?
Yes. Years later, with advancements in technology, they did. This became another major development. They found DNA. Specifically, a hair sample was recovered from an undershirt that was inside the backpack.
Okay, DNA. Whose was it?
Well, it was mitochondrial DNA, which, unlike nuclear DNA, isn't unique to one person but is passed down the maternal line. So it can link someone to their mother, grandmother, siblings, through the mother, and so on. This particular mitochondrial DNA profile was linked to two specific individuals.
Right.
A man named Russell Underhill, who actually died back in 2004, and crucially, a daughter of a couple named Roy and Connie Dedman. This was huge. It wasn't just like surface touch DNA. A hair sample on clothing inside the bag suggests more direct contact or at least close proximity. It finally provided a tangible link, a biological connection to specific people outside the immediate family. It really shifted the focus of the investigation.
Wow. Okay, so that DNA link is fairly recent then.
The link was made public in the years following the backpack discovery as DNA tech improved, but the implications really started coming to a head more recently.
Right, because there have been some major developments lately, haven't there? Bringing us much closer to the present day.
Yes, definitely renewed hope and some significant official shifts. Back in 2016, so 16 years after she vanished, the FBI released some pretty specific information. They announced they were looking for a particular car, a dark green, early 1970s model Lincoln Mark IV, or maybe a Ford Thunderbird. They specifically mentioned it having rust around the wheel well.
That's very specific.
It is. And they said they believed Asha might have gotten into this car on the night she disappeared. This wasn't new information per se, but it was based on a fresh analysis of existing witness statements. It showed the FBI had this persistent focus on this specific vehicle potentially being involved.
Okay, so the green car theory has been around for a while.
Yes, simmering in the background. But then, just last year, in September 2024, things escalated dramatically. The FBI, working with the North Carolina SBI and the local Cleveland County Sheriff's Office, executed search warrants. Big news.
Where did they search?
At a property on Cherryville Road. And this property is believed to be directly connected to Roy and Connie Dedman, the family linked through that mitochondrial DNA from the backpack hair sample.
The Dedman property. Okay, what did they find?
During the search, they located and towed away a car, a 1964 AMC Rambler, which apparently resembles the description of that dark green suspect vehicle the FBI had been highlighting.
They found a car matching the description on the Dedman property.
It seems so, yes. Now, importantly, they stated that no human remains were found during the search, but they did confirm they seized multiple items of interest, We don't know what those items are yet, but it's clearly an active, ongoing part of the investigation. It suggests they're zeroing in.
That feels like a huge step forward after all this time.
It really does. And alongside this activity, there's been a very significant and sobering shift in the official stance on Asha's fate. Investigators now publicly state they believe Asha is a victim of homicide.
They believe she was killed.
Yes, and that her body was concealed. This fundamentally changes the case from a missing person investigation to a suspected murder inquiry. It changes the resources, the focus, everything. And critically, Roy and Connie Dedman are now officially considered suspects.
Suspects. Based on the DNA link.
Based on the DNA link, the belief that an adult would have had to be involved in disposing of a body and concealing the backpack so carefully, and the fact the Dedmans were apparently living in that area back in 2000 when Asha disappeared. It provides that potential geographical and biological connection.
And there was something else too, right? Something about a confession.
Yes, another really disturbing element that surfaced more recently. A woman named Lizzie Foster, who says she used to be friends with the Dedman's daughter, the one linked by the DNA, came forward with a chilling claim. Foster alleges that years ago, the Dedman daughter told her, "I killed Asha Degree," apparently while sobbing and bawling.
She confessed.
Allegedly confessed to her friend, yes. Furthermore, Foster mentioned some text messages that were apparently exchanged between the Dedman daughter and her sisters around the time of the 2024 property searches, messages that Foster felt were suspicious. Now, these are allegations, of course, and need thorough investigation and corroboration. But if true, it's potentially explosive. It could be the narrative key investigators have been searching for.
My goodness.
Yeah.
If you have the DNA, the car, the property search, the suspects named, and now this alleged confession. It feels like the ground is really shifting in this case after so long.
It certainly feels that way. More movement than we've seen in years.
So with all these official facts laid out, and let's be honest, the facts themselves are often sparse and just raise more questions.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating and kind of understandable how online communities have just jumped into this void. Amateur sleuths poring over every single tiny detail, trying to connect dots, trying to make sense of it all. This is where our threads of truth really connect with that public fascination, isn't it? Generating theories that range from, quite plausible to sometimes pretty out there.
Absolutely. And platforms like Web Sleuths, for example, they've been discussing this case for years. One of the big areas of debate there has always been the voluntary departure idea, trying to figure out why a child would leave like that.
Right. What are the main theories there?
Well, a really prominent one is the grooming hypothesis. The idea that Asha was manipulated, groomed by someone, maybe someone she knew from the community school, church, neighborhood, someone who gained her trust over time. The theory suggests she left that night specifically to meet this person, maybe thinking it was safe or part of some secret plan or adventure they'd concocted.
And the items in the backpack fit that theory.
They potentially do. That unknown New Kids on the Block t-shirt, the specific Dr. Seuss book, McElligot's Pool, some argue these might have been things she was told to bring, like identifiers or part of the plan laid out by a groomer. It suggests careful manipulation.
What about just running away?
That's discussed too, the running away theory. But it's generally seen as less likely. I mean, given her age, the terrible weather, the fact she was described as shy and well-adjusted from a loving home, that doesn't quite fit. But, online forums explore everything. Some speculate maybe there was some kind of perceived strictness at home, something we don't know about, that triggered an impulse. Her family strongly denies anything like that, of course. And O'Brien hearing the bed squeak, her packing the bag, locking the door, it does suggest more deliberation than just a sudden dash out the door in anger or fear.
Yeah, the details seem to point away from pure impulse. And wasn't there something about a book she read?
Yes, that comes up a lot online too. The fact that Asha had recently borrowed a book called The Whipping Boy from her school library. It's a story about a kid who runs away. So some people speculate maybe she was inspired by the book, trying to reenact it in some way. It's impossible to know, of course, but it's a detail that fuels discussion about what might have been going through a 9-year-old's mind.
So that's the voluntary departure side. What about abduction scenarios? You see those discussed a lot too, especially on places like YouTube.
Right. The abduction after leaving home theories, one common one is opportunistic abduction. This suggests she did leave voluntarily, maybe intending to meet someone or just run away for a bit. But then, while she was walking alone on that dark highway, a stranger saw her, saw an opportunity, and took her.
And the green car fits perfectly there.
Exactly. The FBI's long focus on that green car aligns well with this idea of someone driving by, seeing her vulnerable, and abducting her, a crime of opportunity.
But then there's that moment she ran into the woods. How do abduction theories account for that?
Well, that's where the ran into the woods scenario gets debated endlessly. If she was running from the truck driver, just scared, then maybe the opportunistic predator grabbed her from the woods shortly after. Or was she running because she saw her abductor already there or approaching? Or maybe she was running to the person who was supposed to meet her and that person abducted her or harmed her.
So many possibilities just from that one action.
Precisely. And the lack of a strong scent trail for the dogs in the woods just makes it harder to pin down. Did she even spend much time in there? Was she picked up right at the edge? It's a huge question mark.
Okay, and then shifting focus again, especially with the recent FBI news and the Deadman connection. What about theories involving people she might have known?
Yes, the foul play from someone known theories. These have gained a lot of traction recently, especially on Reddit and in true crime podcasts, and seem much more aligned with where the official investigation is heading. Now, some older theories speculated about an in-home abduction, someone with a key getting in, but the multiple confirmed sightings of Asha walking outside make that seem less likely now.
So the focus is more on something happening after she left.
Exactly. The most compelling theory right now, supported by the DNA and the recent searches, is something like accidental homicide or concealment by someone known or at least encountered that night. The DNA links to Underhill and the Deadman daughter. The property search points to the Deadmans. The idea is Asha might have encountered someone connected to them. Maybe she accepted a ride because she knew them or knew of them, or maybe it was prearranged and then something went terribly wrong, an accident maybe, or intentional foul play leading to her death, and then the cover-up. Burying the backpack 20 miles north, that speaks to a cover-up.
And the Deadmans lived nearby at the time.
They were believed to be living in the area, yes, which provides that geographical opportunity for an encounter. And of course, that alleged confession from Lizzie Foster about the Deadman daughter saying, "I killed Asha Degree," if that proves credible, it points directly to foul play from someone known.
It really starts to form a disturbing picture when you connect those recent dots. The green car, the Deadman property, the DNA, the alleged confession.
It does. And that green car connection becomes incredibly potent in this context. The FBI's focus on it for years, then finding a similar car on the Deadman property. It strongly suggests someone in that car picked Asha up. The huge question remains, was it initially innocent, like someone offering a ride out of the storm that went horribly wrong? Or was the driver involved from the start? Had they lured her out? Were they waiting for her? Connecting that car to the Deadman family potentially links the vehicle, the location, and the individuals implicated by the DNA. It's a powerful convergence.
It really narrows the possibilities, or at least focuses them intensely.
It does. It shifts the narrative dramatically from potentially random stranger abduction toward a scenario involving specific individuals who had opportunity and are now linked by physical evidence and recent investigative actions.
And like you said, with any case this long and unsolved, you always get some fringe theories popping up online too, right?
Oh, absolutely. You'll see discussions about human trafficking. It's a common fear in any child disappearance. But honestly, there's never been any specific evidence pointing that way in Asha's case. It remains a general possibility, but not one driven by case facts.
Anything else?
Occasionally, you might see it looped into broader, very speculative theories like the smiley face killer idea, just because it's an unsolved disappearance near woods and potential water sources. But again, there's absolutely zero concrete connection. It really just highlights how desperate people are for answers, sometimes seeing patterns where none likely exist, just trying to make sense of the senseless.
Which brings us right back to that core paradox, doesn't it? Why?
Yeah.
Why does a shy 9-year-old leave home in a storm, pack a bag with weird items, walk down a highway, and then run away from help into the woods? That fundamental contradiction is what makes this case so haunting and so hard to solve. Her actions just defy easy explanation.
They really do. You're forced to consider these really complex possibilities of intense fear, maybe, or some kind of deeply planned meeting, or significant external manipulation. It wasn't simple.
And that backpack discovery, let's circle back to that because it feels so critical. found 18 months later, 20 miles north, double-bagged, buried. It just screams third-party involvement, doesn't it?
Undeniably, a 9-year-old isn't doing that. That level of concealment, the location so far from where she was seen, the opposite direction, it's clearly an attempt to hide evidence and misdirect. It tells you someone else was involved after she disappeared, someone who wanted that backpack gone and found somewhere else, or ideally never found at all.
And the contents, that specific Dr. Seuss book, and especially the unknown New Kids t-shirt, does that suggest she was meeting someone? Someone who told her to bring this book or wear this shirt, or maybe even gave her the shirt? Or is it possible the backpack was planted later, maybe with items added to confuse things?
Both are possibilities debated online and likely by investigators. The specificity of the items, especially the shirt her family didn't recognize, leans towards the idea of a prearranged meeting or instructions. But planting it later to deliberately mislead is also entirely plausible given the calculated way it was hidden. The location, 20 miles north when she was heading south, strongly supports that misdirection idea. It suggests a perpetrator who was thinking ahead, trying to create distance and confusion.
Which connects right back to the green car and the Deadman property.
Yeah.
If that car was involved and potentially linked to the Deadmans, does that make it more likely it was a meeting gone wrong rather than a random abduction?
It certainly strengthens that possibility. If someone she knew or who knew of her, perhaps connected to the Deadman family, picked her up in that car, it changes the entire dynamic from stranger danger to something potentially more complex, maybe even initially seemingly benign, that turned tragic. The FBI's relentless focus on that car suggests they believe it's central to unlocking what happened, whether it was the initial point of contact or involved later in the concealment.
And the DNA evidence feels like the most solid thing we have right now. That hair linking to Underhill and the Deadman daughter, it's not speculation, it's biology.
Exactly. In a case starved for physical evidence for so long, that mitochondrial DNA link is concrete. It provides names, connections, a direct biological thread back to individuals whose property has now been searched. The huge question now is, can this DNA evidence, combined with whatever was found in the recent searches, and potentially corroborated by the alleged confession from Lizzie Foster, finally lead somewhere definitive? An arrest. Real answers. It feels closer than ever, but still tentative.
It must be incredibly difficult for the family living with this for so long.
Unimaginably difficult. And that's something we absolutely have to acknowledge, the unwavering strength and persistence of the Degree family. Asha's mother, Aquila in particular, has held on to hope, often stating her belief that Asha might still be alive, even as the official investigation points towards homicide. That human element, that refusal to give up hope despite decades of uncertainty, it's profoundly moving. Their dedication is a huge part of why this case hasn't just faded away. They keep reminding everyone Asha isn't just a case file, she's their daughter.
And their persistence, along with the investigative work, has surely played a role in the police finally shifting their stance, declaring it a homicide investigation now.
I think it has to have. That official declaration that they believe Asha was a victim of homicide and her body was concealed is a major turning point. It signals a shift from searching for a missing person to building a murder case. It potentially opens up different legal avenues, allows for different types of charges, and brings a sharper focus to finding not just Asha, but also holding someone accountable. It's a grim milestone, but possibly a necessary one to move towards closure.
So, looking ahead, thinking about what might finally break this case wide open. What are the realistic possibilities? What should we and the investigators be looking for?
Well, several things could be the key. A substantiated confession, perhaps, if Lizzie Foster's claims about the Deadman daughter hold up, or if someone else involved comes forward. The discovery of Asha's remains, sadly, would provide definitive answers about her fate and potentially yield more forensic evidence. Further DNA breakthroughs, maybe from those items of interest seized from the Deadman property, could provide more direct links, perhaps nuclear DNA this time. Or maybe new witness testimony, someone who saw that green car that night, someone who knew the Deadman family back then, someone who saw something suspicious but didn't realize its significance or was afraid to speak up. Any one of those things could be the final thread needed to unravel this whole agonizing mystery.
It's just a case that carries such a quiet weight, doesn't it? A young girl walking out into a storm, packing secrets in her bag, and then just vanishing. No definitive answers, no closure. It really stays with you decades later. A stark reminder, I suppose, of the unknowns that can exist and how fragile safety can sometimes feel. And a reminder that every piece of information, however small it seems, might just be the one that matters. The case of Asha Degree is a chilling reminder of the unknown dangers that can lurk even in the safest of homes. A young girl walked out into the night carrying a secret and vanished, leaving a community and her family in an enduring state of agonizing uncertainty. What are your thoughts on Asha's disappearance? Do you believe she was groomed, abducted, or did an innocent encounter turn tragic? We invite you to join the discussion and share your perspectives. You can connect with us on our social platforms, Reddit, TikTok, and X, formerly Twitter, using hashtag Threads of Truth and hashtag Asha Degree to continue exploring details of this heartbreaking deep dive. Next time on Threads of Truth, we head to Europe to explore the chilling final days of Lars Mittag, a healthy young man who ran out of an airport terrified, never to be seen again. Was it paranoia, foul play, or something much stranger? Thank you for joining us for this exploration. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review for Threads of Truth wherever you listen. Your support helps us continue to shed light on these unsolved cases and search for the truth, one thread at a time.